It was made with our group of emerging filmmakers, and that process began in 2020. It was then, after the rough cut was created with our team, it was picked up by a number of pitching forums, including the East Doc platform. We soft pitched here, and we were also part of the development pitch. We won the development pitch at Docs Barcelona. That took the film forward, which meant that after a kind of nearly 4-year process, we ended up having our world premiere in spring this year. We now move into a festival run before distributing for television later on in this year and into 2025 as well. You have a question? What's your name?
So my name is Sofia.
Hi, Sofia.
Do you film only in Spain or in other countries too?
It would depend. So if something like Unbound, generally our core stories would be based in Spain. But with something like Unbound, when it became an international production, one of our characters that's Lisa, one of our characters who you'll see, she was returning to Belgium because she was fighting for justice, as you'll see in the trailer, and so we followed Lisa to Belgium for a section of the film. We will typically take characters outside of Spain if that's where their story is going, and if the funds are there and if the development is there in order to do that, but the majority of our stories start in Spain because that's where our programme and development funding is from. It's the fact that we have made Unbound has allowed us to not just enhance the experience of the filmmakers itself, but also to hopefully bring some of the knowledge of how you get a feature documentary to its world premiere and to market. And that's something I'm sure you guys maybe have questions about, which we can explore later on. But I think it'd be great just to have a quick look at it now, so that you guys can get a picture of the sort of films that we make as well.
When I was 12, my teacher, she would say you would look horrible and enormous and fat. So I stopped eating.
Typical company don't want Asian dancers. They want tall, skinny, beautiful. I am everything opposite.
Really bad things happened there. I told the person, please don't do this, but I just accepted. This was how the ballet world works.
Not measurement. They're saying we don't care about your race, your sexuality, your body shape. We just care if you can dance. Boom. That's revolutionary.
This place gives me the courage that I can do whatever I want.
The dancers are taking past trauma, owning it, and turning it into their expression and art.
We're not saying we can be inclusive and supportive and just as good. We're saying that because we're inclusive and supportive, we'll be even better.
You have to own yourself as a human being. I'm here. I'm a professional dancer. I've killed myself for years to be here. And you better look at me and you're gonna love it.
Chase broke every rule of ballet as a dancer, and now he's doing it all over again as a director.
He never got accepted in a normal company as a normal dancer, and that's his inspiration.
Who says we can't change the whole ballet world? Shatter that whole thing. The only way to fight back is to step out on stage. You have the power.
If I give up, then what? But if I keep going, then maybe we can.
But that's what you need to be fighting for. Get mad at the step, don't get mad at yourself. 5, 6, 7, guardians.
Hold your breath still.
Nobody's lost their ability, but they have lost some belief.
But I just still hear the voice. You're nothing. You're never ever gonna be anything.
I'm so scared. But I want to.
So that gives you an idea of the types of films that we try to make. OTOXO try to make films that tackle big issues, but also that include elements of hope in a struggle as well. We believe that those are the stories that are very important to tell at the moment. There are a lot of important films being made out there that are highlighting very, very difficult issues. But we also believe it is really important to provide inspiration and energy for those who want to join a struggle and to fight against injustice. Your question, sorry, what was your name?
I'm Kira, and
Kira.
to ask a really naughty question, I really want to know where to watch this at the moment.
All right. Well, at the moment, it's in Festival Lock at the moment, so we can't share screeners at the moment. It will be having its UK premiere at some point later on in the year, which hasn't been confirmed yet. Sometime in the autumn. But if you follow us on Instagram, follow both the OTOXO Productions and the film itself. Unbound Ballerinas has its Instagram page where you can see updates. It will then be getting. We have a distribution agreement in place, so there will be a UK platform that will be screening the film. I mean, I very much hope. Not sure which one it will be, but there should be a UK platform available. That'll probably be closer to 2025 before that is available, but we can definitely keep you posted on that front as well. Not a cheeky question at all. So that's something that the kind of films that we focus on making are films that includes a sense of hope within a struggle. But there are also elements in our film that are true of all documentaries, and this is what I want to go to next. You've watched one trailer for one film by one production company, but I want you guys to start thinking about the things that are fundamental to any documentary that you might be hoping to make. Things that you see in that film, that you've also seen in the many, many films that I hope you've had an opportunity to see films this week. So many beautiful films here at the festival this week. What are the common factors? What were the things that caught your attention about this trailer and about the films that you've seen this week that are important again and again and again? Because the next thing that we're going to be looking at is what I would call the 5 foundations of documentary. And I'm not saying that you need to guess all 5, but I want you to start thinking about the elements, the basic elements that give us a documentary film. What are the things that time and time again, whatever the story, wherever it's being told, whoever the people, what are the things that make a documentary? The absolute fundamentals. Okay, so again, take a moment, chat to the person next to you, and we'll start to identify that. Take a couple of minutes just to start thinking. Lovely to hear you guys developing ideas together. Better keep it going. It's only having 3 hours with you guys. I'd love to have a lot more time. We've got to keep things moving. So yeah, I'm not suggesting you name all 5, but when we're thinking about these 5 elements, the 5 foundations of documentary, does anyone think they might know one of them?
Like something distinct about the story.
Perfect. Right. Good. Something distinct about the story. It has to feel different from stories that we've seen before. Are there other dance documentaries out there? Of course. Are there other abuse documentaries out there? Of course. But what we felt that we had with Unbound was a sense that there was something distinct, original, happening in the way that those 2 elements were being brought together. It was something that we'd never seen before and we thought the audience hadn't seen. So, being distinct, being original, knowing that you can stand out even within a theme. Because as I say, there are dozens of dance documentaries in our year of release, and so how can your story stand out from all of those ones as well? Good. All right. What else? I'm going to come to you. What's your name?
Isan.
Isak.
Problem.
A problem. Good. Very good. We're gonna break that down a little bit more. And when we talk about a problem, what does a problem then give us? Because you're absolutely right. What if you have a problem? What does that then mean can happen?
A conflict.
Right, exactly. So we've got a problem, we've got a conflict, and if we've got a problem and we've got a conflict, what does it become?
Rithik, I think it would make people mad when they want to do something about it.
Right. Okay, good. Okay, we're that's actually another one of those points. We're gonna break down on that. Let's stick on conflict and problem for the moment. What does a conflict and a problem then become?
Oh, no, I wanted to say
No?
something else.
It would give you a story.
Right, exactly. Good. So this is absolutely central. When you have a problem, when you have a conflict, when you have a struggle, it is the basis of a narrative. As soon as somebody wants to do something and you believe they're going to try and do it, you have a story. And a story is absolutely fundamental. Now, do you have to know that they're going to be successful at doing it? Absolutely not. All you need to know is that they are going to try to do it, that they are going to face up to this struggle. Okay, so originality, narrative, story. And then I want to come back up here. Sorry, I forgot your name. What was it?
Rithik.
Rithik, you mentioned it was something that makes you mad, something that makes you angry. Now that's a really, really key element to explore and break down a little bit more. What does that mean more generally? You know, I think that's absolutely right. We want to feel the sort of energy. What does it mean?
So it means that the theme should be relevant for a lot of people, and like a lot of people would be interested in watching this film.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've got the sense of injustice, the sense of madness, the sense of relevance and interest to a lot of people, and that brings us on to the wider kind of. If we're talking about this in a wider sense, I think I would probably just summarise it as social impact. You need to feel that your film is saying something that's going to have an impact of some sort.
You know what, I watched some documentaries and some made me feel, good, but some are no connections between the scenes. It has to be wakes all emotions in all self.
Okay.
Emotions are the real thing.
Right.
In anything, documentary, films, if you don't make up people's emotions, whatever you're making, and if you don't have a right connect between the scenes, you won't be successful.
Excellent. Okay, so I want to look at this idea of emotion. Where does because this is going to bring us on to our fourth point now. Where does our emotional response come from? How do we have an emotional response with a film? Or more specifically, who? What were you? Sorry, I forgot you. I didn't ask your name first time. Ellie.
I was going to say, relating to it.
And relating to?
Yeah, the characters.
The characters. Yeah. Our emotional responses come from strong characters. And these are the things that you have to have clearly in mind. Now, for many of you, I'm not saying anything that you haven't heard before, but it's worth just saying again that without characters, without story, without originality, without social impact, you're not going to have a film. Something that I have to really, on day one of our programme at OTOXO, something that I'm trying to get our participants to move beyond is the idea that a film is about a subject. When I ask people, what do you want to make a film about? And they'll say, well, I want to make a film about the climate crisis. Or I want to make a film about gender. Or I want to make a film about homelessness. And I would say, no. Those are themes that you care about and worlds that you have to explore. But you want to make a film about people doing things. And those things can then help us explore the climate crisis or homelessness or gender or whatever theme that you might want to explore. But at the heart of everything, if you feel that you have got a story that you want to tell, a film that you want to make, at the heart of that you have to think, well, I've got characters in mind. I've got things that they are going to be doing that I can film. So, I want you guys to be thinking about that. We're going to come back to that in a second as well. Beyond that, there's one more. There's one more thing that I think is absolutely essential. So up to now, we've got originality. We've got narrative, that problem, that struggle. We've got that narrative. Originality, narrative, character, social impact. But what other impact should a film have? We have chosen the screen as our medium. There are lots of different ways to communicate your message, but we've chosen film. So what other impact should it have? Right up the back there. What's your name?
Matt.
Hi, Matt.
Are you hoping to facilitate change?
Good, yeah, I would say that's part of social impact as well. You're absolutely right, though, that I think we want our films to be making, at least starting a dialogue, starting a conversation. But when you're there in the cinema, what is it that, as I say, why did we not make a podcast? Why did we not write an article? Why have we chosen to make a film? When we're investigating a story, it must have something.
You want to make a visual impact as
You want to make a visual impact. You guys are brilliant. You're like the best group I've ever had. 5 out of 5. Visual impact. We have to think, when we hear about a potential story, we have to think, well, is this a visual story? Because if not, there's lots of different ways to tell that story. And some of them are a lot cheaper and easier to make than a film. Okay? So if you really think, well, this has got to be a film, you've got to think, well, there's a visual sustenance there. There's something that can really hold visually in order for this to become a film and not to become something that is in the audio form or the written form. As I say, that is a lot cheaper and quicker to make. So, can we skip on a slide, Alex? Thank you. So that's what we're looking at. The fundamentals of documentary. We need a character, we need narrative, we need originality, visual impact, and social impact. So, based on that, and I don't want you guys to be shy, I want you to feel confident, I just want you to reflect on it a minute. Those of you who put your hand up first time round and said, yeah, I've got a story that I would kind of like to make. How many of you feel that you have at least 3 or 4 of them and you feel that you could probably get the other 2? Raise your hands again, those of you who did that. That's good. Alright, good. So raise them right up because this is going to help us form the groups. So maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 34, wow, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, right, loads, okay. Well, what I would like you guys to do, those of you who felt that you have a story in mind, and we're going to involve moving about the room a little bit here, I want you to find someone who didn't put their hand up, okay, because a big part of this is collaboration, and you might be the person that's got the story, but that's not all that filmmaking is. As well as having the story, you need to bring people on board to develop that story. You can be the person who starts the process, you can be the person who adds to that process. And that's a really important skill to learn as well. And it's going to take us further forward into the session today. So, in fact, I would say that perhaps somewhere between a half and a third of the people in this room felt that they had a story. So if those people can find 1 or 2 other people who didn't put their hand up, or vice versa. If you didn't put your hand up, find someone who did. And I want you guys to sit together, either in a pair or in a 3. Does that make sense? Okay? If you've got a story, find some people who didn't. If you don't have one, find some. You guys are going to take some time and we're going to come round and listen to you all. So how many groups have we got in the end? Let me just try and figure this out. You're still so that's 1 group there. Yeah. 1 group there. Is this a 3 here? This is a 5. Okay, good. Yeah, bigger groups work as well. That's fine because we're going to have a lot of pitches to do. Yeah? Is that a group of 5? 4? Okay. And okay. All right. And you guys are a group of 4. You're a 3. 6. Excellent. Okay. Good. All right. Is this a 4 that I can see up here? Good. Across the top. 4, 2. Up here. What have we got up here? A 4. Brilliant. You guys are a 5. Fantastic. You guys, what's going on? You got 4 here, and then you're a 2. 2. Are you guys together? Are you with these guys? Cool. You guys are 4. Perfect. All right. Excellent. So we've got probably maybe kind of 10, 11 different pitches that we're going to hear. Fantastic. Oh, did I mention that to you guys? You're all going to be pitching. Okay. Anyone seen the pitches this week? Anyone at the Wickers Worlds? Anyone at Channel 4? They work you too hard. It does look scary, trust me. Okay, now I'm going to see loads of calming stuff to you. It is really scary. It is really scary. I've done lots of pitching in my time. It's quite scary. But scariness encourages you to prepare well, and this will not be a scary pitch. And also, I have to say, the vast majority, I've had some scary pitches, but the vast majority of the pitches I've done haven't been. Those people on panels, they want to see films get made. The decision makers that are at the head of this industry, they want to see ideas turned into actual films. That is the lifeblood. So don't ever be scared about pitching. And also, if this is your first time pitching, then use this as a great opportunity. You're amongst friends that you've been making over the week. you're going to be pitching to myself and to Emma and Alex, who are huge supporters of emerging filmmakers. We work with emerging filmmakers all the time. There's no pressure. I haven't got any money. I'm not going to get. You're not going to get any money from me for this pitch as well. So this is a low stakes pitch that you're looking at here. It's not like what's it, the Wickers? 100,000 from the Wickers. I am not about to give anyone £100,000 today. I'm just better to get that out there, I'm afraid. But it is good to kind of start this process. This is something we're going to look at a little bit later on in the session as well. Is that we should always be taking opportunities to be delivering our stories, to be sharing our stories with other people, because that's what makes our stories better. That's what challenges us to think, well, have we got all the elements here? Okay? So, how are we going to be doing that? Well, the person who is at the moment presenting the story to the rest of the group, you're going to start by answering some questions from the rest of the group, but then it's going to become a collaborative process where you're as much generating questions as answering questions on all sides once you get a little bit more information. Those of you who do not have the story and are working to develop it, you're going to start mostly by exploring and interrogating the person with the story in order to get to the situation where we can talk a little bit on all these fronts. So you've got to be asking good questions. A huge amount of filmmaking is asking questions. What can I do with this? What is the potential here? Who is my character? Why are they a good character? And I'm going to break this down a little bit more now. The story that we will follow. Well, you guys already you already explored that a little bit, because when we talk about narrative, what we need a problem, and we need an attempt to solve that problem. That's a story. That's a story. Now, as Emma will confirm, as I'm sure she has become incredibly sick of hearing me say, it's one of my mantras. I think that all emerging filmmakers should have it kind of printed across the inside of their eyelids. When I think about story, I have 4 simple questions, and you've got to be asking those questions to each other today. 1, what is it? What is the story? What is the problem, and what is the attempt to solve that problem? Can you say that in one line? You should be able to say it in one line. So the first is the what is it. Then there are 3 words that make up the next parts, and this is very much my mantra. Important, difficult, possible. Why is the story important? Why does the story need to happen? Why does it need to be told? Why is it difficult? Well, if it's not difficult, that's not much of a film. I want to do this. I did it. No one's going to go and watch that film. I really want something. Did you manage to do it? Yeah, I managed to do it. No, I don't. That doesn't sound like a really good film to me. Okay. So it has to be important and it has to be difficult. However, unless it feels possible, that's also not much of a film. I really want something. Is there any chance of you getting it? Oh, no, there's no chance whatsoever. Right, that, again, I'm not going to follow that story. So, when you're analysing narrative, I want you to be asking yourself, if you're the person with the idea, or asking your partner, if you're the one that's bringing that creative, constructive, critical development to the story. Right, what is it? Why is it important? Why is it difficult? But why is it possible? So if we look at Unbound, for example, when we came into the story, we're like, well, what is it? Well, it's a group of abused dancers who want to set up their own company to fight abusive industry norms and to disrupt an abusive industry. Why is it important? It's important because hundreds of thousands of young people are suffering and have been abused and have been traumatised across the world because of malpractice within this industry, and more widely across entertainment, sports, all kind of industries where young people are taken away from home and made to work in very rigorous environments. That's why it's important, because it is harming young people, and we need to explore that. Why is it difficult? Well, they're trying to set up a ballet company. Most ballet companies have been formed for 200 years and have reviews that are worldwide, and they're renowned, and they have used theatres. These people had nothing. They had a tiny little studio on the outskirts of Barcelona. They had no money, no experience. None of the main dancers were any more than 22 years old. The director had never directed before. So that's why it's difficult. But why is it possible? Well, you saw the fight in their eyes. You saw the enthusiasm that they had for the project. You saw the talent that they had and the growing belief that they had as the project went on. So there, when I was pitching that story, those are the questions I'm going to get asked. How does this story unfold? Why does it matter? What's going to happen? Where will the struggle be? Well, you can say, well, this is why it's important, this is why it's difficult, and this is why it's possible. Okay? I'm going to quiz you all on that. Those 3 words, right? Don't forget them. Alright. The characters. It was already brought up before. What's our emotional connection to the characters? What is it that you know about them that will make our audience be drawn in? It might simply be a quote. Again, the quote that we opened that trailer with. She was abused countless times by a teacher. And I remember sitting there in the interview, a pre-interview before we developed the project, and she simply said, it went on so long that I stopped eating. That's an instant emotional connection with your character. You've got to think about what your connection will be to your characters. What have they been through? What do they have in their past? What are they looking to in their future that makes them both unique but also relatable? How can we connect to them? You know, I've watched films this week from all over the world, people with incredibly different circumstances, backgrounds, experience to my own, and I've identified with characters in every one of them. So how are your characters? What universal traits do they have? Are they someone's child? Are they someone's mother, someone's father? Are they facing a fear or a struggle or a battle that we could all imagine facing? You know, I've never ever been a dancer, but I know what it's like to feel marginalised. I know what it's like to feel excluded. We all do. We know what it's like to be judged on our looks rather than our talent. We know what it's like to be considered less worthy than other people in a situation. We know what it's like, all to a greater or lesser extent, to experience a form of injustice. Or we've all witnessed an injustice and felt angry or frustrated about it. That's what we have to think about in our characters. A little bit of detail, and not much. 20, 30 seconds, maybe it's only one character, because you guys might be pitching a short, you know, that's fine. Could be one character, but what is it that's going to make us emotionally connect to that character? Got it? Alright. Then what are we going to see that's happening? That's our visual impact. Now, here I would say something very simple. Visual impact is all about action. Often when I'm receiving pitches from people, when I'm producing and I'm getting directors coming to me with pitches, I often say, well, what are we going to see? And a big mistake that people say, oh, well, it's a really beautiful setting. I'm like, okay, great, that's the first 7 seconds of the film taken care of. And what are we going to do for the another hour, 29 minutes and 53 seconds? Visual impact comes through activity. What are we going to watch happening in this film? What are we going to see people doing? Okay? Why? What was one of the main reasons that we picked up band? Because they're dancing. And top level ballet dancing is hard, so they are struggling, they're physically fighting. You're seeing sweat pouring off their faces, you're seeing their feet being beaten by the fact that they are grinding so hard, that they're working so hard towards this performance. You're seeing incredible, beautiful, flowing artistic movement. What are we going to see people doing? That's it. Okay? Now, visual impact can come in all sorts of different circumstances. It doesn't, you know, we don't have to set every film on an idyllic desert island in order to have visual impact. Union is set in an Amazon warehouse. But that doesn't mean that there's not incredible visual impact there, because you see the stories of workers unfold and taking to the street. You can find a visual in all sorts of different places. I would also, any of you guys see, you know, the former Oscar winner American Factory? You guys know that film? It's set in a factory. But they have seen beauty in the process of the interaction, the dance between the human and the computer and the robot, all trying to work in a modern factory environment. So many things can give a visual impact. But again, you guys in the group, start quizzing about that. What do the people do? Oh, that sounds interesting. That sounds good. We had a pitch here last year when one of the volunteers, one of the participants in the program, he was describing people magnet fishing. So they just find like kind of scrap metal in like canals and rivers, and like someone like, you know, he was describing these really kind of grubby, quite sort of often quite dirty, disgusting kind of inner city canals and things like that. I was like, wow, the visual impact there sounds incredible. Like just getting your magnet dropped into a canal, pulling up whatever objects you might find in it. That's visual impact. So that's the way we've got to be creative and exploring where the visual impact can come in our films. Originality. Why is the story different? Well, that's what you've got to think about again in your groups. You've got to quiz each other. What makes this? What's the theme? I mean, let's take an example here. What about you guys? Tell me what's the subject matter behind your film? Or what's the kind of theme behind your film?
Being gay in very, very rural spaces in like Yorkshire and stuff.
Brilliant. Okay. Good. Okay. So, then we've already got some. Of course, there are lots of documentaries, queer documentaries out there, documentaries that are fighting for rights across sexualities, across identities. But what would make this one original? Well, I think you've almost kind of started to deliver it already. Often these films are explored within urban spaces, and here we're looking to explore it within a rural space that perhaps hasn't been explored before. You can even push further. The questions I'd be asking there, I'd be like, okay, well, give me some of not just the core characters' dynamics. Tell me more about their wider family dynamics. Does that add anything of originality? Tell me about their upbringing and their school and their other pastimes. Is there anything about that feels surprising and unconventional within this genre of documentary? That's what you should be exploring. Keep asking yourself the questions. What makes this different to another film within this genre? Okay. Then we've got to think, why is the story important? What is going to make people think that's a film that needs to be made and a film that needs to be watched? And you've got to really think, well, importance, I think, comes from social relevance. I think someone was saying earlier on that it's going to feel relevant to a large number of people. That doesn't mean that it has to be universal. We've all got our different focuses and our different struggles. But you've got to think people are going to realise that this has impact for society. This is not just going to change the lives of the person involved in the film, but it could have outreaching consequences for many, many other people. I'm actually producing a film at the moment that we're going to have a little look at later on as well, called Still Life by Priya Woods, an emerging director. Priya also came off our programme. She made a short with us last year during the programme. She's now developing that short into a feature. And Priya's film, in many ways, is incredibly personal and incredibly simple. But I think that I'm going to show you the trailer. I think you guys will agree, and we're going to explore, that there are so many universal themes that it touches on. And that's what is important about this idea of social impact. That even the most personal story, because I love personal stories. I think personal stories can be the most emotionally impactful, but that they can still have resonance for other people. So, I actually want to kind of unpack that story a little bit now, and then we're going to return to it later. But I'm going to just show you the trailer for Priya's feature, because I think not only does it illustrate creative points that I'm trying to make, but it should also give you guys a lot of hope as you move forward with your own stories. Priya, less than 12 months ago, was still on our programme and just about to start developing her short. In fact, it was after watching Much Ado About Dying last year that she decided that this was a film that she had to make. In that time, with only a single camera and only a humble producer and only with very, very, very little money, without any support or production crew, with a simple trailer and with a two-page pitch. Priya has already won the Docu Award. She has been invited for meetings from everyone from PBS to the Swedish Film Institute to the BFI. She was awarded the best pitch by Met Films this year at Doc Barcelona, and that's all been done with a very, very small budget and very limited time. Priya's still having to work, and as you'll see, she has full-time work as a caterer. She is also working full-time to provide for her father, and yet, based on that, her film is in full development and has, I believe, every chance of becoming a feature film that could screen at the likes of Sheffield Doc Fest. So, I think that her film should give you a lot of hope and encouragement about how, with even limited resources, if you have a story and you have characters, then you can really take something forward. You can get the backing for it. You can get, and as I say, I mean, you know, at the moment, Priya's been doing this on tiny resources, but there are a lot of people who have much bigger resources that are really interested in being involved in Priya's film after only one round of pitching. So it should be encouraging to all of you to realise that this is not something distant, this is not something that is impossible, it's something that we can reach out and achieve. So, Alex, if we can just hit play on this as well, we can have a look at Priya's... Oh no, actually, can you pause a second and take it back? Sorry, Alex. The other thing I want to say is that I would like you to view it in terms of giving you hope and encouragement for your own project. But also, I want to think about why it is an important and original story. Because what you're going to see is a very personal story. And it might feel like it's really only relevant to the characters that are in it. But then on reflection, I want you to think about the bigger themes, the bigger issues that this film speaks to and why it could resonate with audiences in completely different backgrounds, ages around the world. What are the things that would make it land with those audiences? Thank you, Alex.
Christmas Eve 2002. This is Priya.
When I was young, my mum filmed everything.
Then we're going to summer classes. And by the way, after tomorrow, it's Boxing Day.
And then when I was 7, she stopped.
Hello children, Mum's 45 years old and from today I'll start 6 weeks radiotherapy. And I just wanted to leave a nice message for you that I love you all very much.
When my mum left us, it was like my dad left us as well. When she died, he went to the pub. He's been there ever since. My little brother and sister and I grew up alone, in that same family home, where my mum filmed all those videos. When it was last orders, my dad sometimes returned home, but he never really returned as my dad. So I left. I'm now back. Back in the same house, now crumbling around us. And back because he's getting old and his drinking is catching up on him. He's getting sick and I want to help him, even though I'm not sure if I really can.
Hello, you are speaking to the person that you want to speak to. Bye.
Dad, you screaming down in front of the doctor for no reason.
I didn't come up doctor.
Okay, when you go today, can you not act like that?
I got a keys, I need everything. Do you want anything?
World peace. Oh.
But I love him, and despite everything, I kind of like him too. But still, I don't know how long I'll last. But I promised myself I'll stay at least a year. And just like my mum, I'm going to film everything.
So, as you can see, personal story that is, and you would say, well, this is just something about a father and a daughter. Why does it resonate on so many levels? Why is it more than just their story? Why is it a story that could be so significant to so many people? Why do we think?
Well, I mean, everyone, no matter what the state of it, has parents, and therefore you can relate to that element of it.
Absolutely. We all have parental relationships in some form, broken, ended, continuing, whatever they might be, and we all have very, very strong emotions about them. Yeah, absolutely. What else?
We all experience death of our relatives in
Right.
our certain stage of our life.
Yeah.
So
The sense of mortality of the life course is important to all of us. Very good. And these are things that reach out to all of us. And then what about other themes that reach out at least to some of us, even if they don't reach out to all of us?
Many of us have had friends, family members, or parents with some form of condition or terminal illness.
Exactly. Okay. So, mental illness, addiction, issues like these, or physical illness, all of these issues are things that are so commonplace and that so often of us, they are life disrupting in ways that we couldn't have imagined before we experienced them. Absolutely. Anything else? Yeah.
I feel like another thing as well is seeing that it's also from a mixed family. So with the mum side being South Asian, it does resemble with quite a lot of the South Asian community. Because you don't see a lot of these kind of struggles or issues and hardship within the community. So it's nice to kind of see the humility in that.
Excellent. Yeah, absolutely. I think it feels like quite a contemporary documentary as well, that's opening up conversations and debates that perhaps were shielded in the past as well. Oh, thank you. I really, really appreciate that. Yeah, up here.
Like coming from the narrative of the carer, like that's a really important story.
Absolutely, and more. You know, it's something that's being debated a lot in this election campaign at the moment. People are talking about social care. Who are the carers? We are an ageing society. Who is taking responsibility for the older generation who are becoming weaker, who are becoming sicker? And interestingly enough, this was something that I thought, I didn't even realise the impact of this, but a lot of the meetings that Priya and I have been taking on this, particularly with decision makers who've had experience in this background, they say there is also a resounding theme here that who are the carers? Well, often they're the daughters, often they're the eldest daughters, and that is, and then there are even kind of elements. We were actually speaking to a South Asian decision maker who was saying, and particularly within our community, that's where the expectation lies. It lies with the daughter, it lies with the eldest daughter. So you're exploring issues of race and of gender and of social struggle deeply within this project as well. So I think that should provide you with creative insight into your stories as well. But also, it should give you that recognition that there are universal themes in some of the most mundane day-to-day situations as well. So what really want you to be thinking, can we go back to the slides, Alex? Right. That's it, thank you. So, why is the story important? Not just for the people who are living it, but for society more broadly. I want you guys to try to think about that as well. Okay, so enough of me talking. I've spent 5 days shouting and noisy.
Hoping that we've
It all comes
understood it
together.
enough.
Yeah. Okay. Emma, you're going to tell these guys when they're ready to go. I'm going to leave it to you guys from here.
You ready? Yeah. Go. Okay, so this is a story about South London asylum seekers who were living in the Best Western Hotel in Peckham, and about the community attempts to basically now save them from what the Home Office is trying to do. The main story will focus around one of the characters called Sina. We discover him basically at an anti-deportation raid where the community come together and stop a coach from being taken off to Bibi Stockholm, and the asylum seekers that were being threatened watch as this happens, as the community come together and stop, and we meet him and we basically find out how the Lewisham Peckham community have basically now taken him in, and are trying to kind of protect him now from what the Home Office is trying to do.
Excellent. Yeah. I think we're going to try and develop this character and show the audience where he's from, what's possibly going to happen to him if he goes back to Iran, what his future's looking like, what his personal world is looking like. He's studying to be a nurse, he's part of the local food bank, he's a useful member of the community. We're going to develop that side of it, and also sort of put in some polarising quotes from Nigel Farage, maybe get some sides on people taking sides and such like.
Yeah. So I mean, it's got an interesting visual narrative. So it's going to start. There is footage from the protest that happened at 7 in the morning, where people from Peckham came and slashed the tyres of the van that was going to take them away, and then there was all this police brutality. Well, not police brutality, sorry, but there was conflict between the police.
I mean,
and
there probably was.
Yeah, there probably was. Yeah. So it's that's how it starts, and that's obviously the visual impact from that is huge, and then it zones in on Sina in particular. We get his backstory and how. Sina's backstory, and then it goes into the community. So obviously there's a lot of visual impact from that, because the community has this huge warehouse where there are loads and loads, hundreds of community members who come and support him. Not him in particular, but all of the people. And also some looks at the hotel itself, the conditions that these people are living in, and Sina's day-to-day life, trying to balance being a student and a refugee and pressure from the Home Office. Yeah. That's it.
Oh wow.
Ready? Yeah, ready? Good. Thank you. Okay, well, I'm going to start with a question for you. So, what do you expect to see happening in a cathedral? Yeah, what happens in a cathedral? You've probably all got your own ideas about what you might expect to see. Turns out there's quite a lot of interesting things happening in cathedrals these days and changing things. And this story is about a Muslim women's fencing group which meets in a cathedral in Doncaster, South Yorkshire, for people who aren't from around here. So some of the inspiration for that was going to Sheffield Cathedral in the Sheffield Adventure Film Festival and seeing that it had a bar, they were selling pizza, people brought their dogs in, and I was like, wow, this place is completely different. I was not expecting this at all. So we're going to follow this group of women fencers and see what their story is and what that's all about, what they're doing there in that cathedral.
And as well as following the women in the fencing group, we also want to follow the coaches and kind of why they became fencing coaches, as well as the church administrators as well, and also the families and their thoughts on their family members in the fencing group. And for visual impact, we want to see opening shots of these fencers in kind of a heroic images, as well as the beautiful cathedral backdrop.
Yeah, we thought about also trying and get in there some, potentially, depending on what we've got, because we don't actually know this group of women, we'd have to get to know them and do some research, but potentially some interviews with the church administration, find out what their view on it is. Are they doing outreach into the community? What's their kind of take on what's happening there and that change? And as you say, visuals of the cathedral. And originality, well, we thought it was a pretty original concept, really. We've never seen anything around a Muslim women's fencing group anywhere. Muslim women's sport generally, I think, is quite underrepresented. And the changing roles of use of cathedrals and religious buildings in the UK. And we think it's important, don't we? Yeah. Most important.
We think it's important for people to be supporting their local community, as well as kind of seeing these Muslim women fencing in a kind of non-traditional space, as well as we want people to take away inspiration to kind of start a new sport or take up fencing as well.
And we thought we'd get some really interesting, hopefully, personal journeys out of it. And that's what this is going to be all about. So look forward to that one.
Okay, so Emma will give you a thumb up to let you know when to start.
So, very good. So, this film is called Fuck Knows Yorkshire. It is about retelling the story of my personal upbringing in North Yorkshire and my experience with finding my queer identity and community while surrounded by very conservative and religious people and spaces. So the characters would be myself and some of the friends that I grew up around, especially this person called Lee. I have been friends with them for the whole of my secondary school experience when we were in a very strict, very gendered environment and when we discovered our identities despite being in that very strict space. And I would also maybe introduce family members, but not too much because I don't want it to be too trauma porny. I want it to be a positive narrative overall. So the visual impact, I think it would be important because it's focusing on rural, village, small town settings, but contrasting that with myself and my friends and how we presented ourselves. A lot of it was very grey, very old, posters that have been taken down for decades and it's all washed out. And then us stood there in these really colourful outfits feeling extremely out of place. And also there'll be a lot of focus on contrasting open landscapes with myself and my friends because it's feel very small, very isolated in contrast to the big space around us. So I think it's original because there are a lot of queer stories out there, but not many of them focus on these smaller spaces and these smaller communities in rural areas. But I think focusing on that would make it more original, and focusing on the camaraderie that we experience in those spaces is quite important, and that leads into the social impact, as I think this film would be telling the story that I wanted to hear when I was younger, because all of the media that I saw was very oh, we're gay in the big city and we're gonna go to these clubs and stuff, but that just wasn't the experience that I had growing up. And raising awareness is great, showing straight people different things is wonderful, but this, I want it to be a film made by queer people for queer people primarily, and I want, if one little gay person feels more represented by my story, I think that's important. And yeah, that's it.
Once again, beautifully presented. You guys are coming up here and just delivering with so much ease and so much confidence. I think that's amazing. Make sure that never leaves you as you go into bigger pitching forums. Carry that confidence with you. I thought that was beautifully conveyed. I thought it was really great how you moved from you painted really nice visual pictures. You also at one point I was worried that it wasn't going to get. Then you brought it into the personal. I thought that was really important as well, and that really resonated with me and that sense that you would like to kind of pass this story on as well. I think it would be good, and this is always the hardest challenge. I would like to know a little bit more about an upcoming narrative for you. It's quite a backstory focused at the moment, but actually you've only had half an hour to pitch it. I think if you were developing the story further, just to be thinking about, well, what can I do next? What do me and my friends want to kind of achieve or change or activate within this town, and then that could give us a sort of leading off point for the narrative to move forward. But I have to say there is real originality there and explore. As I say, the way that you've presented this, the sense of more unknown queer spaces, I think, and it makes you think, wow, there must be a lot of people in your position, and they're not the ones that are perhaps getting the consideration at the moment. So I thought that was beautiful. It was taking us into unknown spaces as well. Well done again. Ready?
Hello, everyone.
Yeah, hi everyone. Our documentary will be about a female judoka called Joanna Scocchimaro. She's from Germany, and it's about her fight, about her past and her future, to her internal fight for her individual Olympic medal. After having 2 really severe knee injuries, and she fought back herself again, and got the 5th place in Tokyo. So that's really close to her medal. And is really, in general, a really good judoka internationally, as she was silver medalist in the World Championship and European Championship as well.
So we want this story to be upbringing and positive, to show her passion, who she's been supported by her friends, family, how they came to their championship, film some videos. So we're hoping to use some archive if there's possible to reach to the family. And she's also the youngest sibling. She had the only girl in the family, and she has 2 brothers. So it's from perspective of a female champion competing in particularly male-oriented sports mostly, and we're gonna show her hard work, her training and getting ready, then going to the therapy after her injury, and her friends picking up from physical therapy and her mental therapy as well.
Yeah, and we think that it's really original because she was really close to her goal, and she still picks up all the time again. It's a female story of say a male-dominated sport, and it's also kind of an insider perspective from me as a director, because I'm doing the sports as well. I knew her when she was little, but she kept on her going a dream. I mean, I'm doing different stuff now, but I'm still insider and know the sports and how it can be. And she can kind of have a social impact on other people doing sports in general, but also just in general having a really important goal, and having this awareness of that if you're injured, you can still fight back, but you can't do anything. You can't make it quicker. So it's kind of how to deal about this physical problems mentally, kind of, and standing up again from it.
And she's 26, and we don't know what will happen next if she will return to the sport. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well done. I thought Emma will give you a thumb up.
Yeah, I'm ready. Cool. So my pitch is about the struggle to get hormones for transitioning in the UK, focusing primarily on a guy I know called George, who is using black market testosterone to fund his transition and everything. But it'll also look at the other 2 cases, the other 2 ways to get it, through the NHS, waiting for 6 years, or getting it through privately funding it. So the people that I'm following are those 3 characters, focusing again primarily on George through the black market acquisition, and then also the visual impact. You're following them through their process of what led them to get to the point where they have to use black market, because they don't really have any other way, because NHS 5 years or thousands of pounds paying it, get it done privately. I haven't really seen before focusing on the idea of getting black market hormones. I've seen documentaries about the struggles to try to get it through the NHS, but not so much people resorting to the black market. So I think that might be a gap in the market that could be filled. I think the story is important because we need to put more light on the fact that 6 years to wait to get your first appointment to even try to get your hormones is fucking ridiculous. And I think it is important to shine more light on that and what happens to people in society when they can't get them, because they are going to end up resorting to, I can do self-injection in the ass or stomach. So yeah, that is my quite short pitch, because I don't think I need to fluff it out.
Yes. So my film will be on neurodivergency in the circus community. I've grown up in the circus since I was 6, so that was many, many, many years before I got my autism diagnosis. And, normally in class you'd have about 2 or 3 neurodivergent people. When I did my BTEC in performing arts through my circus, there were 7 of us, and a good 4 or 5 of us, so that about 2/3 were somewhere on the neurodivergency spectrum. and it's about why the circus attracts so many neurodiverse people. And I'm thinking, following a character called Nat White. Nat trained me since I was 6, and he has ADHD, and he's a circus teacher, almost trying to see, because we have a youth circus troupe, about putting together a show whilst having ADHD, and showing both the presenting as very normal, the outward presenting as normal, but also talking to him about the internal struggles that you can feel that people can't see, the feelings of distraction, of boredom, of trying to get everything in time. Because there's a lot of internalised struggle that a lot of people don't see with mental disorders. And I think the visual impact is quite obvious. It's circus, it's a youth troupe, there's also potentially having access to festivals where circus people meet. I have a lot of circus connections, so that would be quite easy for me to get into, and try and get shots of as many disciplines and showing the wide variety of specialisms. And that's kind of why I think it's original, because a lot of people see circus performers as weird. I mean, we are weird and we all agree on that, but it's not all just that. A lot of us come from different backgrounds, or are neurodiverse, and it's not really talked about. We're normally kind of the ostracised group of, yeah, they're kind of odd and they'll just stay odd, and it's kind of exploring the relationship between autism, ADHD and other conditions with this art of exploration. And I think that's why it will impact socially, of showing that hobbies of expression around having different forms of diversity and the attraction it has to so many people who are disabled.
I thought that